Magical Musketeer Unchained actually taking this format by storm. Make sure you guys smash the grab button, subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more. It's got to be your top 32 YCS remote duel regional for you out here. Now, I did read a few complaints like, oh, why are we still doing remote duel YCS? You know how many people don't actually have access to travel to events out here? If you're one of those people that are like, I can't believe this. This was a free event, effectively, for the company to run and for players to, spend their money on and actually get the play in. So I think it's cool that they do bring these opportunities to the player base. But we had 7 Tempai Dragon decks in your top cut. Very, very, very cool to see such a large number of Tempai. Wow. Woo! 7 Fire Kings bringing up the rear here. Now, I gotta tell you, Fire King domination is not a very surprising thing. Like, this deck has been basically the strongest version of the deck. Ever since they reduced the numbers, we kind of had a feeling that Fire King would kind of be floating around either in the good area or the miss area. I thought it was going to miss, but now to see that this has been the better version has been interesting to see. We also had 6 Snake Eyes variants in your top cut as well. So technically, if you want to be technical here, you technically have 13 decks in the top cut if you're combining these together, playing a Snake Eyes package. So that's a lot of Snake Eyes in your representation. We also had 3 Yubel variants. Now, what's very funny to me about this is, Yubel just started to fall off. It hasn't changed the fact that Yubel is kind of sitting at like the 3rd, 4th best deck, depending on how you want to go about looking at things out here. But Yubel still has a place in the meta. That has not changed, and I don't expect it to change anytime soon. Keep it up, Yubel. Centurion, this is also very refreshing to see. Centurion is still doing very, very strongly out here. Centurion has definitely solidified itself in the meta as a very strong rogue challenger, and that's very, very good to see. Ever since that deck kind of came to light fairly recently, you just needed to ban King Calamity, and you gave the deck its own identity. All right. We also had 1 Unchained duelist playing a mini package in the deck for Magical Musketeers. We'll talk about that list here in a second. We also had some Kashtira action for you out here, so mid-range control still doing very well. We also have the unstoppable power of Exodia, the Forbidden One. Okay, well, hi there, my arch nemesis. I'm glad to see that you're doing well. We also have the power of White Forest. Actually, I think that was one of the better, interesting lists that I've had the chance to actually see out of this event. Was, White Forest, it's definitely doing strong, but it's also doing some things I don't think a lot of people were really expecting. We also had 1 Memento duelist, and Mermail actually took to the sea out here with a top 32 showing. Overall, your top appearance here, I think, looks very, very, very good. You wanted to see a change in the meta? I mean, it's the numbers looking good. Top 16, 6 Fire King. We only lost 1 Fire King duelist in that transition from top 32 to top 16. That's radical to be thinking about, that you have that much of a shift in the meta. We also had 3 Tempai. Wow, we lost a lot of Tempai there. And then, of course, we had 2 Centurion coming on along here for the ride. Our Yubel player... Wait, we lost 2 Yubel. Yeah, we did lose 2 Yubels. 2 Yubels fell off in top 16. We also had Unchained. Well, that Unchained duelist is doing their job out here. Mid-range control Kashtira. 1 Snake Eyes. Wait, we lost 5 Snake Eyes variants in that shift? Yeah, we did. That is an insane drop-off. And then, of course, our Exodia player still holding on here on into top 16. That's actually quite impressive, but all good things must shift. Top 8, 4 Fire King variants. Wow, that's a lot of Fire King, actually. We also were left with 1 Tempai Dragon duelist. Say what? Actually, yeah. Tempai... definitely. Ugh. We also had our Yubel, our Kashtira deck, and our Unchained duelist still holding through here. Top 8 is you've got a huge shift here, that Fire King domination. That's not what you want to be seeing. But top 4 is a different story. We had 1 Tempai duelist, we had 1 Yubel, we had 1 Fire King, and we have our 1 Unchained duelist carrying it on. So you've lost a lot of Fire King in this shift, which is very nice and refreshing to see. And then your finals were actually Tempai versus Yubel. and Tenpai locks it down on its first place. Very, very interesting and nice, refreshing top cut. Let's pass on over to those deck lists. So starting things off here, we have our Yubel list that carried this event on its back and made an attempt to do everything that it could. Fiendsmith package in here, so we are doing triple engraver with the one Lacrima. I see that we've also got triple Mourner in here. We've reached the point that Mourner looks like it's kind of getting a spot back in the meta, which is actually good. I mean, effect veilers too, and it looks like Drolls were really, really strong this format. The fact that we're kind of back in that point that Droll is going to be one of those cards to kind of assist you in putting that pressure on, you know, the cease functionality of your opponent getting all the searches is really good. You also do see all the Mulcharmies in the world being side decked down here. The fact that the TCG has kind of forced this out of the deck, that's interesting. I guess we've reached the point now in the meta shift that the Mulcharmies are just very expensive side deck cards. But hey, you know what? Innovation does its thing, and hello Thrust. Hello D-Barrier. Okay, what else we got cooking back here? We have our Unchained list. Now, this is where you see we are playing triple Starfire with one copy of the Calamity, because typically you're going to be slamming down the Magical Musketeer Max out here, and you're going to attempt to go find some extra friends along the way, because remember, you can convert a Max on into a Requiem, because for whatever reason they just allowed that interaction to actually exist, and it's meant to put you some extra floating bodies onto the field off of one core summon. Hello Fiendsmith Synced, how are you? In terms of how this deck plays, it's just very strong Unchained, climbing up through links. You know, this deck almost feels like at this point that it almost might be doing things a little bit better than Yubel is trying to do. So we also have Ensign Malong, along with the power of Ultimate Slayer down here, kind of clean up some of those things. But hey, if you want to play some Unchained action and you've been wanting to see an interesting list, I think this is actually pretty cool to be seeing out here for sure. Next up here, the unstoppable power of Secret Village locking the opponent with a giant Exodia. Cool, interesting interactions with this list. We are playing the Super Polys in here to try to clean up anything that the opponent does. Perfectly so, right? Like, this card alone, just locking and taking care of the opponent, seems really, really good. Of course, the Millennium Blue Eyes to go search for, you know, all of our honks. 6 copies of Honk in this deck was an incredibly huge power-up. Also, you know, just being able to ignorantly OTK your opponent. We're playing 2 copies of the Board Wipe. We are playing 2 copies of Wedju Temple. And then we are playing the 1 copy of Obliterate to kind of, you know, ensure that we can get to the OTK lines. And then, of course, we have 1 Chaos Star Source Dragon down here as the cute little Super Poly target. I know a lot of people initially looked at this card and they're like, you know, this is kind of cool, but it left a little bit to be desired, at least in my personal opinion, for what you can kind of do. But hey, if you pull it off, good. Ooh, we have Memento and Friends. Once again, hey, look, you have the triple copies of Droll and Lockbird in here. You also do see this list did choose to play 1 copy of the Fool Watch, just, you know, in case, you know, you need to see some of the draw power to do your thing. It's really good. Now, in terms of the what trap are we maining? We're not playing any. We're actually citing the Cranium Burst and the Fracture Dance. Now, obviously, if you're playing in a more consistent event and dealing with these larger numbers, if shifting this to a local environment, I could see you wanting to play either one of these, just because it's a smaller tournament, you know, you're dealing with more rogue options. But that's my 2 cents on, you know, for a competitive event, 100% this is correct. If you're playing something on a more localized level, please note that you can make that change and not feel too bad about it. All right, outside of that, this list, I mean, the triple Goblin Cage with the 2 Memento Goblins, this is everything that you want. And then we also have, we have White Forest Centurion, sporting off triple copies of the Final Bringer of the End of Times. Yes, that's right. You want to, you know, basically do a double spot. Do you think? Also, there's no runic cards in here. We're all relying on the Centurion Good Stuff package to kind of allow us a chance to kind of climb up. I think this is one of the cooler options down here that we have. The Power Sink Stone replacing our dear friend Skill Drain in a deck like this. Because, you know, as long as you can get the first counter on this, your opponent's turn is basically done. All right, like, that is the huge thing that you got to be looking at this. If I can do this myself, amazing. We also have a copy of Skill Drain, and we also have 2 Threatening Roars down here for the power of good old anti-fun. Outside of that, I mean, that's your breakdown for this YCS. At least it's everything that I have and that I was given. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I will see your beautiful faces back here in day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.